The nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Yes, indeed. In case you hadn't noticed, ladies and gentlemen, The nation is under siege. And you can't be complacent about it. This is for real. We are under siege. The coup has already begun. It's time for you to put the Superman suit on, because nobody's going to be there to save you but yourself. Good evening, everybody. It's another Divided We Stand from Bridgeton, New Jersey, via Arlington, Virginia, and Louisville, Kentucky. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, you can find us on YouTube, Divided We Stand. We ask that you subscribe. We're not a monetized channel. You won't see any commercial. Why? Because we want to hold our principles that we're not out for a buck. And unfortunately, a lot of channels are really only there for the buck. And
why?
Commercials everywhere. Why? Personal greed. Why? Ask why. At some point, you can't divide the minutia. Okay? It's your fault, Dave. That's why. Okay?
Why?
Dave is recovering from a shower fall in his cabin during his Disney cruise. And we
why?
hope that he's okay. He only knows one word. It's why.
Is it a word or a letter?
Yeah, that's good.
Why?
But you'll know that we are not monetized. We don't want your money. We want your subscription, and we want you to participate, because we are not overlords. We're simply facilitators. We're not the type of people who are in it for a buck. We're too old, especially Dave.
Why?
And you can find us on why? Well, that one stormy night was about 9 years before me. So now we know what happened. It must have been the electricity, right? It must have been one big lightning bolt that hit the house, and all that DNA got messed with. But that's another story. We'll let all the professionals try to figure that out. But you can find us on Facebook. That's where we're really popular and getting more popular.
Why?
Why? Not because you ask why. Why ask why? But the Facebook page is very, very popular, and we'd like you to get involved there too. We're not looking for anything. We've thrown out a couple Trumpers. In fact, even today, a couple Trumpers tried to get in to our crest. So I'm trying to police that, but we're doing a good job. And if they get through, then we have Policeman Dave to get them the hell out of there. So watch out. And by the way, yes, Dave is the head of our marketing department, although we are not monetized on Facebook. If you have any problems with anything, please contact Dave anytime.
Why?
3 a.m. You can call him up. He's our guy, and he doesn't mind. So thank you, Dave, for that. Okay, let's get everybody on. All right, from Louisville, Kentucky, and from Arlington, Virginia, we have Ryan Velez to my left, as you see me, and to my far left is our far left David Price. Now, David, Joey Folger's asking why a famous R. Stevie Moore tune. So, gentlemen, how are you? Dave, have you recovered from your fall?
Why?
Right.
My fall. No, I didn't have a fall. That's something you made up again.
I did make that up. But you
ladies
are
and gentlemen,
strangely.
what? No, I'm not. What happens is, ladies and gentlemen, it's difficult to deal with Brian Weinstein. Not as difficult as it is to deal with Donald Trump, but difficult. But we will make the best of it, and we will do what is it we're supposed to be doing? I forget, Brian. Why do we even have this show? I keep forgetting.
Yes.
Why?
You'll remember, folks. Tonight, Dave is going to talk about his shoe collection. He has a new pair of shoes which he bought last night, and he's talking about the different sizes that he has and the shoe horns that he purchased. So it should be a really, really exciting show. So Dave, tell us about your shoe collection.
Why?
All right. Support mental health, folks. Ryan, how are you?
Can I talk now?
Well. I'm doing very well. I mean, I just got over having the flu this past week, but today's my first day where I feel reasonable and normal again, but it was a horrible flu. I will note, I did have my flu shot, but the 2 strains of flu that are going around right now were not covered by the flu shot because they didn't predict those 2 strains were going to, be the ones that got popular. So
Yeah, I think there are 5 major strains out there, so
Yeah, I think so.
that's quite a strain. That's not
It is.
funny, but I'm just saying it's
No, it's not. You're right. It's not funny.
funny. No, I don't even I debated even saying that because it's so
Let's
bad.
let's talk about funny for a minute. That's a good place to start the show.
Yeah, Dave.
The one thing we can't do, there's a number of things we can't do right now. We can't lose our sense of humor in this respect. These are, in my estimation, in my opinion, as we say, are the darkest days that I've experienced in America in my 72 years here. Now, let me put that into some perspective. I was not around for the McCarthy hearings, the Lavender Scare, the Red Scare. That happened the year I was born. I was around for the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was, for any of us who were there, remember, it was terrifying, but it was of a short duration. And it was resolved, and everybody went, whew. When Trump first took office, I was working at the museum as a guide and doing First Amendment tours. And the museum had, at one point, it put up, the year of 1968 and what was going on. And I would lead discussions about, this was like 2016, so Trump was just starting in office 2017. And we would get into some debates about which was worse, 1968 or the 2017 debut of Donald Trump. And at that point, I really leaned toward 1968 as being worse because you had the Vietnam War, so you had Americans dying. You had the assassinations of Martin Luther King and RFK. It was a very divided time in America, but the division was basically along civil rights, Vietnam War, but also a counterculture versus what was given the title, kind of the silent majority. And it was a difficult time, but we were young and naive and stupid, and it continued, and then it too abated. My fear of this one is we're going to have 4 hellacious years. I see no way out of that. But we're going to need all the defense mechanisms we can as we fight. And one of those is humor. So I've always used humor kind of both as a joyful thing and kind of as a defense mechanism, especially if you use sarcasm or use satire. But sometimes just being goofy. We're going to need to just be goofy. Seriously, because these are so serious times, but we need a goofy thing. So find a friend that you can be goofy with to relax, because it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay, so I guess the comedy routines are going to get better, but that's because it's an endeavor of masochism, where you have to deal with the world outside you, just gnawing at your skin. Metaphor works, but that's what it feels like. And today, gentlemen, I was reading an article. In fact, I posted it on Facebook with normalcy bias. The idea that as a defense mechanism, self-preservation, people will sometimes try to take catastrophic situations and make them normal, so that somehow they'll say, well, this can't be this, or this can't be that. Now, again, neither you nor I, any 3 of us here, believe in conspiracy theories, but there is definitely a coup going on in this country, and you cannot just simply say, well, if we get through these 4 years, we're going to be fine, because that would be normalcy bias. There is something else called optimism bias, where you're just kind of Pollyanna. I think that's slightly different, and that does affect some people. But I would think that the normalcy bias sounds like a legitimate thing. In psychology, it is. And none of us are obviously psychologists here. But it does seem as though some people...
I'm a psychologist.
You're a psychologist. All right.
Well, I have a psychology degree.
Okay, then you are a psychologist to me. That's fine. Okay, Ryan.
Well, you know what? We have quite a show then. Ryan has a psychology degree. I have a degree in English and Brian has a basket weaving degree from Bowling Green. So it's quite a diverse panel we have here. Go ahead, Rye.
Well, I think humor, as we said, is very important, but I also think that it's a really good idea to find joy in life. And, there's no point in resisting a regime if you don't have a reason to have joy in your life, so you do have to cling to that kind of stuff in order to get through these kind of situations. But, for me, I just think it's important to find purpose. But if we're going to talk about like psychological issues that are like really relevant right now, I would argue that narcissism is something that we should all be learning about. If you learn about narcissism and you look up, the traits of narcissism and you watch videos about narcissism, there are actually narcissists who have been diagnosed who do TikTok videos and talk about what their life is like now that they admit that they're a narcissist and how they're trying to cope with it. It's very interesting. But there are a couple of terms that are very useful for people to understand regarding narcissism, specifically because Trump and Musk are obviously both narcissistic. The first one is golden child. So the golden child, usually if you are a narcissistic parent and you have multiple children, one of your children will be the golden child, and that's the one that you hold to impossibly high esteem, and you measure all of the other kids against that kid. So the golden child feels great sometimes, but they're in this constant battle for parent approval. And then the other kids are trying to compete with the golden child, but the narcissist never lets those competitions pan out. So it's really unhealthy. But in Trump land, the narcissism and the golden child thing would basically be loyal followers who are basically going to do whatever he says. And he's going to, if he likes you, then you're in his good graces. And as soon as he doesn't like you, he casts you out. And that's, fascism, but fascism and narcissism have a lot in common. And then the other term that's important is, flying monkeys. On the family level, a flying monkey is really just like anybody who does the bidding of the narcissist, willingly or unwillingly, or with the knowledge that they're doing it, or even unintentionally. So an example would be if somebody decides to stop talking to their narcissistic parent, the flying monkeys become the other kids who then talk to the child who has gone non-contact, as they call it, or no contact, and basically try to get information from them that they can then relay back to the person who has narcissism. And then they will use that information and weaponize it against the person who has gone non-contact. In Trump land, if we take this concept to make it bigger, basically flying monkeys are, at this point, the federal government. Basically everybody working directly for Trump, doing everything that he says. Like, whenever you prize loyalty over, skill, you just want people to do your bidding. And that's where we are. We have a narcissist who has a bunch of flying monkeys that have power and money and all these things. And as I wrote in the chat a minute ago, the Supreme Court gave Trump immunity from prosecution. And if you couple that with his pardoning power, then basically, as long as you're a golden child, you can do Trump's bidding and he will pardon you. But we definitely will see some people do some illegal stuff and then Trump will get mad at them and he won't pardon them. That is definitely going to happen at some point. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I definitely encourage people to learn about narcissism if you don't know a lot about it. It's a useful thing to understand, because when you're processing all of this stuff about Trump, it's a reasonable filter to kind of let everything go through so you can understand why he's doing what he's doing.
And my concern, obviously, I have no disagreement with you at all, Ryan, about the narcissism. He is a narcissist, and there are people like that. And probably every one of us knows at least one narcissist, or has known. But again, I get back to the populace. We know what happened in Germany. In fact, for example, today I was discussing pre-war Germany with some Russians, and they mentioned that in the Soviet Union, the only thing that would be taught in history about World War II was after 1941, and that the Soviet army was successful and that they won. So they were going to report facts from the war, and just good news that we won. But they said nothing about Goebbels and his propaganda campaign and how this started the last day of 1933 and such. And this is what bothers me, that you look at that society and how that is, left out. And I'm just wondering how people are going to react. I talked about normalcy bias, that I'm not a psychologist, but it does make sense. My worry is, as this keeps going on, are we going to find something normal about this? Oh, well, that's just Trump being Trump. At one point, does rape become acceptable? I'm just using it as an analogy.
Right.
Dave, you want to say anything on that?
Yeah, no. I do want to say something, but no.
Good.
I think that's a risk. I think it's also a possibility, but I don't see initially what's happening. Right now, Trump's numbers are falling. Okay. Now, I've said 1,000 times on this show, be careful of polls, and they say what you want and that kind of thing. But his numbers are not trending upward. Okay. That's one thing. Secondly, I think you can find some comfort, if that's what you're looking for, in the series of town hall meetings that are being held across the country. Now, you would expect, a Democrat goes back and you'd expect them to hear all this. But in some of the other Republicans, congressmen are going home. And they're hearing from their constituents that we didn't elect Donald Trump to do this, or we didn't elect Elon Musk at all. Or I think Elon Musk, in my estimation, is much more unlikable than Donald Trump to the normal person. There's something really wrong with somebody who takes a chainsaw which he did
awful,
which he did in Washington D.C. He has like a different kind of no filter than Trump. I don't even know what. Maybe Ryan, you could distinguish, but it's just somehow it smacks me as different. That it's been said, and there's some proof to that he feels, talk about eugenics and Nazism, he feels that he is one of the people who should be populating the earth because he is a super person. And certainly he's got a few kids running around there. But the idea of it is, I think Trump made a really big mistake as far as he's concerned by bringing Musk on board. It sounded like a good thing. Of course, he wants Musk's money. Musk spent, $278 million is it up to now, I think, on the election. But I think in the long run, one of two things are going to happen with the Trump-Musk team. Either, as Ryan, as you pointed out, Musk is going to do just something that Trump doesn't like. And the thing is, Musk is the same way. He won't like Trump either. So, who has the power is number one. Or Musk will become an albatross and Trump will have to try to get rid of him. The question becomes, the Doge people right now are, we can go into that all night, but they are Musk's people. They're not Trump's people right now. Okay? Notice they're not. So now he has a faction in there. And there's a really good article this week. I'd urge everyone to find it and read it all. Actually, maybe I'll put it on our web or on the Facebook page. That Musk, it was an interesting connection. Have you noticed, guys? Musk is wearing a different hat. Have you noticed that? A different MAGA hat. He's wearing a black one.
Black or something. Yeah.
It's black.
It's black hat. That's for hacking.
with the lettering that Nazi Germany used. So of course that has to be deliberate. There's no chance that you walk into the store. Oh, I like that lettering. So he's making some deliberate statements here. Certainly, and certainly his background in South Africa with apartheid. There's no question he's a racist and probably a eugenist. And he wants to purify. There's scary words. This, but they said what he's trying to do, or this writer speculated, is he trying to rework MAGA into his own image. Well, wait a minute. That's Trump's group, right? So I think we're going to see, unfortunately, people are going to have to suffer. So I'm not being cavalier. But I don't know that, I don't think the relationship can last. I just don't see it lasting. Now, what'll happen, that's anybody's guess. But the way I look at it at this point, anything that's bad for Musk and Trump is good for us. We have to figure out how to take advantage of it. And they're not as united as they seem. And then the congressmen now who are, as you pointed out, the flying monkeys, and then there are many of them, Ryan, when they get back, will the constituents there implant a seed that I got to make a decision? If I don't back Trump, I may get assassinated. But if I don't not back Trump, I may not get reelected. And it could come to that point. Because it's one thing to say, I want this and I want that, but when it affects you, and it's starting to affect real Americans, okay? And I'll give you just one example. I was coming back from Miami, flying, and a young lady sat down, probably if she was 30, maybe around that 28. And we got to talking, and she'd gone to Miami to visit her boyfriend for Valentine's Day week. He was getting his doctorate. She had hers. And she said, this is going to sound odd, but she said, I haven't looked at my phone since I've been down there. She said, what? She had just been hired by NIH.
Oh God!
It was her dream job. She said, I know this sounds cliched, but my father died early from cancer, and it's always been my dream to be involved in the health field at a level of research and science to maybe do something about that. And indeed, she was there. And she said, the reason I didn't look at my phone is I'm pretty convinced that I don't have a job. But when that hits me, I want to be in my own apartment where I can handle it that way and just have a few more minutes. And, as we came down and landed, you could see her tighten just a little bit because she was closer to her Maryland home. Now, that's just one story. That's being played out in Washington, D.C. everywhere you go. We went today to lunch with a couple and their daughter, and they said at least 40 of their friends are facing that. And something that, there are many things I don't know, we learn about. Now, and this is why you can't have kids and ignorant kids. Sorry if that sounds ageist. Like Musk is collected doing this because they have no criteria in which to judge or no experience in which to judge. So these newbies that they're laying off and firing, under the federal government rules, if you get promoted out of your pay grade, if you will, to something else, it has to be a separate job title too. It can't just be a raise in pay grade. You then are put on probation for up to 2 years. So you could have a 30-year veteran of something who just took a new position, right? And they'll fall under that. We've already seen that they don't know what they're doing, which is more frightening probably than if they did. So you lay off some people we need for nuclear defense, right? Well, then they say, oh man, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And they don't have the records to call them back in. I mean, think about it. It's like a toddler just doing whatever. And now you've got Bannon out there, and that looked promising for a while, Bannon against Musk. But I don't know if you saw Bannon at this CPAC just across the river from me. He gave the Nazi salute. I mean, there's no question, okay? There's no question that fascism and an admiration for Hitler's running of Nazi Germany and all that went with it is now an integral part of America.
Right. It sounds like a loyalty ploy, and people will go for that. But I do want to mention, and by the way, Dave, you did mention how some of his sycophants were at a town hall and they were complaining, and I understand that one of our very good members mentioned that to me. She sent it to me showing me where there were protests and whatnot, and that's a good thing in general. But I have a real distaste for those people for all of a sudden now, because it's touching them, that they are coming back. The biggest hypocrites.
I'm gonna argue with you, Brian, for a moment. I don't care how they get on my team. I just care that
I don't think
get
they
there.
are on your team, though. That's
you don't know that yet. You don't know that yet.
Well,
we
I'll
don't
say
know
this,
that.
I'll bet you.
Let me ask you something, right? Let me ask you this. Okay. you had girlfriends in the past before you married your wife, right?
Mhm.
Did any of them ever break up with you? Or did you always break up with them?
I always broke up with them, I guess I should say. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that doesn't help then with it, but I'm just saying, you know, it's the kind of thing with if they break up, if they do, then they have no other place to turn but to our side, and we need all the people we can get.
I agree.
So
I don't.
So
their
why?
hatred for us is so high, so stoked that even though you see this infighting, they'll never jump to our side. I hope you're right.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm not saying Steve Bannon's going to come around, right?
You're saying the normal Joe from.
I'm
Ohio
saying the
is-
normal person who suddenly is out of a job, or their father's out of a job, or they have a special ed
I
child,
understand what you're saying.
and the list goes on and on and on. In what, a month? He hasn't even been there a month yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that give or take a couple days? And he has touched the life of just about every American in a negative way. Now, your point is well taken. They've been on the team, but they've never suffered.
Well,
in the
that's
first Trump regime.
That's the point. They have to. I mean, I would agree
Yes.
with you if there's great suffering, like the.
Well,
there's a different level.
I mean, yeah, yes, of course, everybody. And I
Okay,
think.
I'll give you an example.
Go ahead.
Okay, we know what the NRA is like, and we know what
Right.
would happen to who was it under Reagan? The guy was shot.
James Brady.
Yeah, James Brady. Now he was an NRA guy prior to being shot, but once he got shot and blew half his brain out, then they changed. When a person is pro NRA, but his kid gets shot up like at Parkland, then I think they'll change. Like it
Well,
hits
my
you,
point-
you know you're
and
right,
I'm not-
because I think half of this
and-
is self-preservation that they're trying to.
Well,
preserve their
that's
lives.
see, in the previous Trump regime, really his people didn't really suffer. How did they suffer?
Right. They didn't suffer under Biden.
Now, well, that doesn't matter because that's where your other theory comes in. And you're right about that. Their hatred comes in there. But now they have to figure out who the hell made me lose my job? Who the hell, whatever it is. And we're going to find out
well, then
whether...
you know very well yourself, Dave. Again, I'm not trying to get an argument.
Oh, no.
because I think
No,
we're on the same
I
side
am
of it.
arguing with you.
But you know that there are a lot of teachers in New Jersey who will vote against their interests. What the fuck is that?
All right.
I mean,
Let's
I know
assume
what it
from-
is.
Let's assume for a moment that Trump assumes the power of federal education. And, of course, he'll get challenged in the court. And he says, you know what? The worst thing about education is tenure.
Yes.
Okay? And he says there will be no more tenure for educators in America. Could you see him doing that? I could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So all of a sudden, now you're not talking about the people you don't like. You're talking about me. I can lose my job. And they will. Yeah, they I mean, that's going to
They already have
Well,
a bunch of.
you know
Yeah,
what happened,
yeah.
Dave? This is exactly what happened. That cost most of us. If you've been teaching for 10 to 15 years, you've lost 150 grand because of Chris Christie. But yet these people would still vote for him, and they lost.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think Chris Christie could win in New Jersey.
Not now.
I mean, he
No,
could-
I'm talking about then.
not now.
Then.
Well,
then.
but things have
They
changed.
say he's going to. I remember. I won't mention the names, but there's
Right.
people that you know, Dave. Whom I know.
Right.
They would say, "Well, he's going to clean things." I'm talking about Christie. He was going to clean things up, even though he took away health care for the teachers. He didn't clean anything up.
No.
But they
But
said again, this is that self-preservation.
also, Donald Trump is not Chris Christie. Okay,
No,
Chris
no,
Christie's
he's
a politician.
definitely
Donald Trump's not. And Judy raises a point. Racism is strong, but it will be interesting to see. Will you keep that racist? I'm glad. As long as a black person is suffering, I'll take it too. They didn't have it last time. That wasn't that way. This time they're going to have it that way, and we're going to see not what they're made of. I think they're going to revert, as they should, to self-preservation. Now I could be wrong. I've been wrong so much about
but
Trump.
that can also, self-preservation can be all about preserving your own lies about yourself. You're protecting
True,
the life.
but your lies aren't going to pay your mortgage.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But this,
And
but
that's
you
where I
can't
think-
assume that you're right on this one, Dave. I'm not saying you're wrong,
Well,
but you don't know
I'm
these
not-
people. There's some deep like Judy says, and that racism. That's
Is
like
there
concrete.
are there enough of them?
That's the key.
And-
Enough.
Now, there's another thing that I think is very important for all of us to consider. We are not half of America, right? Either side. There's a third that didn't vote at all, approximately, maybe even a little bit higher. So what's going to happen with those people? Are they going to now move to? And I'm not saying they're going to become liberals. I'm not saying do they become anti-Trumpers because
Right, but they
now
won't even get on the rolls
I know.
now.
I know a guy that didn't
Ryan
vote,
could tell
and
us
he's
about
really vocal about it. Like, he is super happy that he doesn't vote. If
Still?
he did vote, he would vote Republican. He's actually a registered Republican, but he has never
Right.
voted in his whole life. He's older than me. I'm 39. I think he's like 44, maybe.
Mhm.
But I've had conversations with him. He absolutely refuses. He just says both sides are stupid, and he doesn't really have opinions that I would value
It's
as
like saying war is bad, but like how do you
yeah, war
support
is
Hitler?
bad. Yeah, that's the kind of person he is. It's
Right.
like he's a nice person, but he
no.
is not gonna do it.
And all again, nobody can say what's going to happen. We look at the tea leaves, we read them as best we can, and then we say maybe, or that we should say maybe this is going to happen. I think one of two things will happen. I think it's very simple. They'll either rally around Trump and it will get far worse, or they'll begin to break away.
Let
They're
me
going
ask
to.
Let
yeah.
me ask you this, both of you, and this is important because Veg brought this up, but this was on my mind. So Veg, thank you for spurring my memory. All three of us here, we've discussed this before, so this is nothing new about the military and what will happen if he is able to eject, the rank and file of people who are normal, so to speak. But if you get the Michael Flynn's, and we still know with his brother what he's doing there. If they eject all of these people, then all bets are off. Even what you're saying is that even if
Correct.
people decide, well, this guy's a schmuck, I'm not going to vote for him. But then if he controls the whole shit, if you control the red button, I don't care how many votes you have, you're gone. You're going to be immolated. So where is this going with the military? I want to ask what you feel. Is this important? I know it's important, but
Ryan, you go first. Share your thoughts first, if you would.
Me?
Yeah, about the military, then I'll pick up from that.
Specifically, if they're going to follow the Constitution.
Brian's idea. Yeah, will the military obey the oath to the Constitution, or will they follow Trump's illegal orders, like Veg just asked?
Well, I have been reading a lot in the Fed News subreddit, which has tons of veterans and military people in there who are talking. A good number of them are actually Democrats, I think, or independents. And they're obviously not happy. And many of them have lost their jobs, and many of them are afraid of losing their jobs. And then you have a whole contingent, obviously, like in Kentucky, where there's a bunch of people that I know who are super happy about everything that's going on, and they will follow Trump into hell if they have to. And so I think
they may have to.
Yeah, what I think is more likely is some of the military will follow his illegal orders and some of the military will not. And if I had to bet, I would say most of the military is probably leaning towards Trump until they are negatively affected.
He is
and one way to not be negatively affected is to keep doing what he says and hope that it pays off.
Then I think, gentlemen, what we have at that point is we are going to have the Civil War that nobody imagines can happen.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how we fight that. We're not the ones with the guns. How do you fight that if you don't have?
Well, you have the,
and you don't even want to be. I don't want to be in a hot civil war.
Well, you might not get your chance to choose.
I don't think most people
we know
want
what happens
to do
in
that.
Russia. They run. The smart ones run. I'm not saying
Yeah,
we're smart to run, but that's what happens. You run. Go north, go south, doesn't matter. Just fucking run. That's what my friend Vern Joyce said.
We'll see. We'll see. The nice thing is the economic factors, if we ever did have a split, favor liberals because of the states. We get New York, we get
they wouldn't let it happen.
California.
You think Trump would let that happen? He knows where all the gold is. That's a metaphor, just by the way.
Will Trump,
Not
if a
in
civil
Fort
war,
Knox, by the way.
if it were to come to that, do you think Trump could survive an assassination attempt?
He's like Putin. He'll bunker himself.
What about it?
Look
if
what he did when they had the Black Lives Matter march, which was so peaceful. What did he do? Everyone went down the bunker.
Yeah.
Fine.
I remember
But
that.
they're going to be.
And then the funny thing was, he didn't want anybody to leak that
Okay.
information.
I don't want to indicate that I have information that no one
Here's Gary.
else
He has a comment.
does. That how much? 50%. Okay, that'd be about right, maybe. But all it would take. Think about this. All it would take is one member of Trump's protecting force to say, I have to do what's right for America and take him out. Could that happen? Of course it could. They're not as loyal. Trust me, they're not as loyal. I've talked to people who know that. They're not as loyal to Donald Trump as they've been to others.
You at home. And don't forget,
No, I
Trump
know,
knows that, though. He knows that, and so does Hegseth. Not that Hegseth is in control. He's not. It's Trump. And
Okay,
I would imagine it'd be Michael Flynn, too.
See, and you're taking an avenue which probably the facts are pointing to. But there's just things you can't, again, I think there'll be something that we can't foresee or doesn't think it happen. And it doesn't take a lot. Like I said, one rogue agent can take the president of the United States out 24/7.
Right.
Only need one. Only need one.
Right, and that you could say the same thing in Russia, and he's held power for 26 years. So I hope.
Again, Brian, we always come back to this, and you and I are always going to come back to this. America is not Russian. And you can add the yet,
becoming that.
and you can add, and you
You
can
told me
add
about
the
history rhyming. Well, this is rhyming.
But
It's
again,
really
it's
rhyming.
rhyming. It's not direct. Direct
No,
would
you're
be
right. It's not direct, but this thing really reeks of the behaviors.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, how many attempts were there on Hitler's life? Do you know?
I don't know, at least two. I know there were at least two major.
There were more. There was
I
almost
think there were a
40.
lot more than two.
No, I know.
There were at least
the
documented.
one
as-
big
as-
one with the explosion.
Right,
under
but
the
at least
table.
40 attempts, and some have said as many as 200. Now, they didn't succeed. But would you want people to have a chance of 200 times of killing you to say, "Oh, they won't get to me"?
If that's the way it's got to be done, I mean, look, that's not the way I want to look at it. I mean, I would just like to see the populace.
How else?
Say,
What are you going to
shit.
do? How are you going to stop them for 2 years?
Well, if they're so
How you stop-
gooey, maybe we'd come up with some psychological way of turning it around. I don't know. I don't know.
And there you are, Brian. I think it's going to have. They're already a little self-destructive, and I just can't see. Brian, we're back to you. At this point, I just can't. Can you see Musk and Trump working together, singing "Kumbaya" for 2 years?
There's one circumstance where I can.
Okay.
If Musk has something on Trump, then Trump will have no choice but to be complacent with him and keep him around. An example, which I'm not saying happened. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy, I don't know, but if Elon Musk actually did help cheat in the election and Trump is aware of that, they're bonded at the hip because they're both in trouble if either one of them leaks that out. And that makes both of them fireproof from one another.
Okay.
So no matter how bad things get, that's what's going to happen. Now, of course, you can always deny it, but so I think if there's something like that between them, then yes, I think that they will survive more than 4 years terrorizing all of our lives. If there is nothing like that at all, or if there is something like that, but it can be explained away and neither one of them can really hold the other to account, then I don't think that they will last the whole presidency. I don't know if it'd be 2 years or not, but
Right.
narcissists like to be king. Like, clearly Trump wants to be king, and clearly Musk is trying to be like, see, it's me, I'm actually king. Like,
and that's where and that's where I think your point is well taken. We don't know what they have on each other. We don't know what Russia has on Trump. It would appear, and because he's so erratic, you can't even speak to motive. But again, I'm going to go with the side tonight that two narcissists cannot survive unless, as you said, there's something that we don't know that they know. And even there, I don't know that Trump, at some point, he just, he's so volatile. Musk maybe not so much, that he would still do something. Well, Global's got a point. It is about profit. We know that the oligarchs. The one that I'm most disappointed in, I shouldn't be disappointed because I shouldn't have anything, is Jeff Bezos. I didn't think he was I really thought when he took the Washington Post, naively, I guess, because he kind of said it, the Post was in economic trouble. He's kind of, stable, made the ship stable, but he crossed the line, of course, when he had the editorial with supporting Kamala Harris pulled. And he's done 5 or 6 things since then that it's clear the Post is his play to, and he's on the side.
5 or 6 things we know of. I mean, I'm sure he's doing.
No. Well, I mean, that's and people down here. I mean, I'm just saying with the Post. I'm not saying with anything. I mean, he, and the Post. Let's see. In fact, typical voter working on emotion. Okay. Let's look at this. Not based in facts. Global, could you explain that? I'm not. It's me. It's my. I'm lost in that. I mean, I know I'm not speaking. So could you explain that quote to me, just so I know what we're talking about? Narcissistic person must always be the one. Well, there you are. I'm going to take Judy for a moment. There can only be one. Yes. Can there be 2 ones?
Well, when narcissists can be friends, but when anytime there's a power struggle, there's always going to be one who's going to try to, do something. And I'll tell you this, the fallout of narcissists is always destructive. So it is not necessarily a good thing for Trump and Musk to hate each other suddenly for the rest of us. Like, because we're all going to be, getting hit over the face with whatever it is they're trying to do to one another. It's not going to be good.
Is it, well, Ryan, then I ask you this question. Is it better that they be frenemies, or is it better that they be friends for the rest of us? What do you think?
I would personally prefer them to have their war with each other, and just get it over with. That's what I prefer, because this, trying to pretend that we live in the United States of America anymore is kind of ridiculous.
I would agree.
It's pretty clear that these rich guys want to divide America up and run their little high-tech cities and have rich people in charge of everything. Like that's fine. But I think I would rather them fight and hurt each other, because we have such a difficult time hurting them. I mean, we're going to get hurt no matter what. But, yeah.
Gary, let me explain something to you very simply. If you're joking, it's fine. If you're serious, you don't know what motivates me, kid. You don't know what motivates me. So I just be careful. Just be careful with that, Gary. Okay. As many sons, I would take any of my sons over you if that's what you're asking. But to say they influence me, I think it's dangerous. Now, if that was humor, I apologize. I missed the humor in that. Okay. Yeah. Brian, what do you see? What do you see happening? Okay. Next. Let's talk about next. What do you see happening next? Not down the road, but next.
I keep hearing the idea that whatever he's doing, he wants to do it as quickly as possible, so that if the time continues, he may not, things will kind of stall out. So for want of better expression, I don't like using this expression, but it's like a blitzkrieg. It's political blitzkrieg. That's what we see here, and I think the real test will be. We know that the Supreme Court, as much as we know the way they go, there's just so many absurdities that they just could not accept. But if they don't accept something in the near future, will Trump just say, you can just say what you want, I'm just not, you don't have, like Stalin said to the Pope, where's your army? The Supreme Court can issue a decision, but how can they enforce that decision? So the way I see this is, the only thing that it kind of gets back to helping you. Your idea is that if things get so bad in the country that some people say, I just didn't want. It has to get really bad. I mean, you literally have to be in the gut or your hips broken. You have to be the one in severe pain. I'm not talking about, well, I lost the value of my pension. No, you're losing everything. If it gets that bad, that people say, this isn't is the type of thing I was looking for, and so therefore we're just going to come back. I think that's going to perhaps happen to some degree, and we're going to see where that the straw breaks the camel's back, where the Republican Party does revolt. Because I've been reading some articles where many Republican politicians are afraid they're going to be killed.
Well, that part is true, and that's
that's again self-preservation, but in a different physical way.
I want to come back to the military for a moment, because really that is the key. It used to be the courts. It's not the courts now. It is the military. Let's assume that Gary's position is about right. It's a 50-50. Just say it is. How do you see that? The 50% who don't want to follow the order, whatever the order is, what's going to happen there?
Well, but if the upper echelon of the military, that's where I want to look at that 50-50. Does that just mean 50-50, for the boot soldiers? Or are we talking about the brass? And he can replace the brass. That's the problem. So now he will have, doesn't matter if it's 50-50. He's just going to say, we have 50 here, and we can do what we want to do because I have the buttons. So those 50 will get out the other 50. I don't know. I'm just saying this doesn't, whenever you have a fucking moron as president, and I don't like using that other word with the R, but when you have that, you wouldn't let them build your house, would you? I mean, you just wouldn't. So this is what's going to happen. Some horrible, horrible things when you have ignorant people. They are bombs. They're going to go off one by one. There's no escaping it. You cannot escape stupidity. And when I'm talking about really stupid, they are in power. So I can only see really bad things happening. Maybe there'll be a nuclear meltdown somewhere and he'll fuck it up. And then we all have to move. Republicans, if we have another 3 Mile, you remember 3 Mile Island? I was in Ohio at the time.
I do.
I do. There were people actually saying, "Where am I going to go?" Well, what happens if you have that? And the winds generally go from west to east, so the coasts have got to move. And then you say, "Where am I going to go?" It's going to be sitting. That I could see a Chernobyl happening in the next 4 years in this country because of asshole. So whatever it is, it's going to be really bad. I am not Nostradamus, but I can tell you this. You can just grade stupidity and narcissism, in terms of points, and he's at the top on each level. So that can only mean really bad news. There's no guesswork in this. Stupid is as stupid does, and we're gonna have a shitload to pay on this one. That's my opinion.
Right.
What say you?
Okay.
You don't have much time, but what say you?
I say this. I say that everybody has to figure out what they can do, which side they're on. And I think that's pretty much done at this point. Okay, Brian, there are people, like you said, just happy not to vote, leave me alone. We probably don't want them to vote, right?
Right.
We're not going to be able to rely on the vote because that's not for 2 years, right? Anything like that. Yeah. And
that came
Gary,
up too. We haven't discussed
and
that.
Gary makes a good.
It's kind of like with the Steele dossier. I mean, I think there's some truth to that part of it. He went.
Right.
Why was he going to Russia? Just to see pretty girls?
Yeah, among others. And when he saw those pretty girls, they documented it, and that
But that he can see pretty girls at Malibu, so he doesn't need to do that. He can do it in West Palm. He went to Russia.
Well, wait. Let me just play that for a moment. Where are his wives from? Well, not Marla, but 2 of his 3 wives. Where were they from?
From a Slavic nation, like Slovenia.
So maybe as a thing for, I mean, I'm just saying, who knows how Trump's mind works? But
it's definitely Eastern Europe.
The thing is, what each of us have to find, and it's going to be different maybe for each of us. We can't just sit there, right? We can't. Well, we can, but I think that's going to be worse.
Yes, you can sit there.
So what was it I read? Letters to Congress has increased like 430%. Congressmen were getting 1 or 2 a day, and now they're getting hundreds and hundreds.
Send letters to Jeff Van Drew.
And people that have never sent before doing that. Well, is that effective? Well, we don't know yet, right? It's too early to know yet. but it's something you can do. The economic boycotts that are coming up.
Dave, you're a dominatrix. Oh no, hold it. Dave is dominating debate.
Well, I can be that way, Global, from time to time when I feel passionate. And here's what I really worry about, Global, I'll say. I know Brian isn't this way, and I know Brian is this way, but so many people are just giving up.
Right.
What did we solve tonight? Nothing. Okay?
Yeah, but at least
we did.
You have to say,
Well,
express yourself.
Brian, did you? I don't know. I don't have Facebook anymore, as you know. Did you post the thing that I had?
I didn't post. I was just going through it, and I sent the copy to Dave. So
yeah, it's okay.
You can post it to Divided We Stand.
I can post a link in the chat because I have a. It's not a. Well, it's you can download
post it right on Divided We Stand.
Yeah,
right there.
Oh, where?
Anywhere. Right. Just put anywhere, or there's a place for files, and you can upload it.
Well, I don't have Facebook.
Oh, okay. Then I'll do it for you.
That's the problem. But I'll explain to everybody. I've written a document. I posted it online today. It has about almost 50,000 views. I basically put together a 25-page document that shows how we can resist the regime. And it is, I don't put anything violent in there because that will not proliferate. People will not support that. I think eventually there will be people who would support that kind of a document, but I don't think we're there yet, so I didn't write that document. But it has lots and lots of stuff that you can do to resist the administration. It's detailed, it's organized, it has links. There's a lot that you can do. And the main theme in this document is resistance requires sacrifice. I define what sacrifices you would have to make. You do not have to do everything in the document. That's probably not possible. But the other idea that I'm trying to get people to understand is you want to incrementally increase the amount that you're willing to resist. So as I mentioned, I deleted Facebook. Now that's not something that's great for this channel. So I'm not telling everybody, hey, delete Facebook and then, not watch our show anymore. But like what I am trying to do is like I told Brian, obviously we can't instantly do this, but we probably need to start a mailing list, because what happens if we do get taken down and we have to generate more media to send out to people? So we're going to be doing things too. So anyway, I will post this now in the chat. There's the link. It's just a Google Doc. Anybody can view it. You can save it, download it, copy it. And I am regularly posting updates to it. During the show, I actually posted something at the very, very bottom. I'm going to start putting evidence that there is a coup. And the document that I posted at the very bottom, if you read it, it is scary. Like that is leaked information from email threads from Peter Thiel and, a bunch of other billionaires who are trying to do everything. It's scary. Go read it. And, that gives you something to talk about. But anyway,
can I make a suggestion, Ryan?
Yep.
With that, why don't maybe you could take a point of that each week and develop that on the air, break it down. Because again, there will be people who read the whole document, but and I know that there are people that if it's more than a couple paragraphs, and I think and you're the one who would know how to prioritize it. In other words, maybe
or we could do 5 minutes each show at the end of the show.
Each week, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Brian, we'll that would be
bots and things like that. We can
and give you like the last 5 minutes of the show each week, because I think a lot of people are looking, and I'm one of them. I mean, I don't know what's really effective. I'm wondering whether the economic boycott is.
I'll do one real quick right now. That's
Go ahead.
Really easy. It's in the document. It's near the front of the document that you'll find anyway. OpenSecrets.org is a free website where you can look up the campaign contributions of famous people, companies, and everything. It has changed where I shop.
Good.
Bottom line. I used to shop at Meijer.
An app for that I actually have myself.
There's an app called Goods Unite Us.
Yeah.
Goods Unite Us is slightly outdated compared to Open Secrets. Open Secrets is amazing. It's better. But Goods Unite Us is good for on the go. Like if you're already out and you just need to look at something, it is still useful. Both of those are in the document. But Open Secrets, just have fun. Go on there and just look at stuff. It's enlightening. An example that I didn't know. So Costco donated basically like 100% of its campaign contributions to Democrats. So
Yes.
I shop at Costco now. I didn't know that. Meijer was the exact opposite. I used to shop at Meijer every week. They donated almost 100% of their campaign contributions to Democrats. To Republicans, excuse me. And it's been pretty eye-opening. Unfortunately, you will have to sacrifice, some convenience, some quality, and things like that when you're making these decisions. But honestly, there was I think it was, I can't remember who they compared it to, but Costco's stock was up 1,003% just a few days ago. And one of their competitors, I don't know which one, was down like 800% because people learned about that and they have just shifted going. So I think that
It was BJ.
we all have to spend our money very conscientiously from now on. And a good part of the document that I wrote discusses that. But OpenSecrets.org and Goods Unite Us is an app. Both of those can seriously inform how you spend your money.
Well, that's great news. Well, Jenna, we have hit pay dirt now. In fact, we're actually overtime. So I guess we'll have to continue the conversation next week. It's very much appreciated. We had I believe it'd be a very, very nice show. Did a lot of interaction with the folks, and we want everybody to make sure that you come back next week and join us. Also, remember to visit our Facebook page if you have any information. Hopefully, you'll click the link for what Ryan has there. I think that's interesting. I haven't had a chance to look at all of it, but I'll look at over the week, and I guess we'll see everybody next week then, right? We're good? Dave, we're
Sounds good to me.
All right, gentlemen, it's great seeing you. Great show. Thank you very much. And if you're out there, make sure you subscribe. Please, if you're new, subscribe. That's all we ask. We're not monetized. We don't want your money. See you.